Hello everyone and welcome to the Vortex, where lies and falsehoods are trapped and exposed. I'm Michael Boris. Can anyone be surprised, really surprised, that the Catholic Church in America, as well as other parts of the Western world, seems destined for a showdown with governments? World leaders are heading away from God. That much is clear. They have legislated and enacted law upon law which disregards moral truth and elevates that which is evil to legally protected. In country after country, the same slate of evil now enjoys the protection of law. Abortion, contraception, homosexual unions, embryonic stem cell research, euthanasia, to name just a few. For much of this, many people in the church sat by quietly, afraid to rock the boat and confront the evil directly. Better to work in private and avoid confrontation, etc. was the strategy. Whether it was motivated by cowardice or cooperation or naivete is a question for historians and for God. What matters at the present is that it hasn't worked, that strategy, and the full force and consequences of these laws now settling in, the church is now clearly in the crosshairs of various governments, not the least of which is the Obama White House. You see, it can never be the case that homosexual marriage just sits quietly alongside traditional marriage, like the radical homosexualists and their political allies have preached for all these years. Live and let live doesn't work with evil, because evil and good are opposed to each other, not just uncomfortable companions. Since homosexuality is now considered legal and protected from being justly discriminated against, the next threshold now appears. If it's legal, then it must be moral, goes the reasoning. Reasoning, by the way, that is deeply flawed. Just ask the victims of the Nazi death camps. If it's moral and okay, then it's also okay for homosexual couples to marry. If they can marry, why not adopt? If it's okay for all of this, then why isn't it being told to young children in school and taught as part of the curriculum? And on and on. At some point, the church has finally stepped out of the private conferences and into the public square and said, wait a minute. This evil destroys the whole understanding of marriage, redefines it entirely, destroys the whole natural truth surrounding marriage and, by extension, the family. These laws, therefore, cannot stand. And when it says that publicly, watch out for the incoming rounds. This has already started in a number of states and countries outside the U.S. Catholic adoption agencies have been forced to close up shop because they would not agree to adopt out children to homosexual couples. San Francisco and Boston, to name just two, with another case pending right now in Illinois, and it's already happened to the church in London, England. And there will be more. This is just one example of the increasing threat to Catholic truth as step by step, governments and leaders who care little for God and His truth push their wicked plans. So, what's a Catholic to do in the face of growing official opposition to the truths of the faith? In 1890, Pope Leo XIII wrote an encyclical called Sapientiae Christianae, Christian Wisdom, talking about this very issue. We've attached a link to it on this page. Really suggest you read it. Yesterday, we shared some of the various quotes from Leo, and if you haven't seen it, we encourage you to view yesterday's Vortex as well. But for today, here are some further quotes dealing with the issue of the state attacking the church and the duty of Catholics to respond. Quote, the chief elements of this duty consist in professing openly and unflinchingly the Catholic doctrine and in propagating it to the utmost of our power. That from paragraph 15. No one, however, must entertain the notion that private individuals are prevented from taking some active part in this duty of teaching, especially those on whom God has bestowed gifts of mind with the strong wish of rendering themselves useful. These, so often as circumstances demand, may take upon themselves not indeed the office of the pastor, but the task of communicating to others what they themselves received, becoming, as it were, living echoes of their masters in the faith. Living echoes, what a beautiful phrase. Quote, it should be borne earnestly in mind that in propagating Christian truth and warding off errors, the zeal of the laity should, as far as possible, be brought actively into play. As a further encouragement, Pope Leo declares, quote, the Church cannot stand by, indifferent as to the import and significance of laws enacted by the state, not insofar indeed as they trench upon the rights of the Church. And then there is this brilliant stroke he directly addresses to the issue of a weak and timid response in the face of evil. Quote, "Some there are indeed who maintain that it is not opportune boldly to attack evil, doing in its might and when in the ascendant, lest, as they say, oppositions should exasperate minds already hostile. These make it a matter of guesswork as to whether they are for the Church or against her, since on the one hand they give themselves out as professing the Catholic faith, and yet wish that the Church should allow certain opinions at variance with her teaching to be spread abroad with impunity. They moan over the loss of faith and the perversion of morals, yet trouble themselves not to bring any remedy." And there you have it. Please read it for yourselves. Do not lack the courage to fight, nor the understanding to know that you should. And when you encounter those who say, "Wait, don't rock the boat," hand them this encyclical, and then go about your work of manfully defending Holy Mother Church and attacking the gates of hell. Tell them to take up their wimpy concerns with Pope Leo. God love you. I'm Michael Voris.
Please help us keep delivering these kinds of messages that so desperately need to be heard and acted on. Join RealCatholicTV.com today as a premium subscriber. Become immersed in the faith established by Jesus Christ. The Catholic Church is the only hope against evil because that is its God-given mission. As our Lord said, "Apart from me, you can do nothing." Join RealCatholicTV.com today as a premium subscriber and come to learn and love Christ more deeply.